Welcome back. It's the Flow Friday Sports Show on Flow FM. Drew Brndusic from Urana is joining me on the show. Drew's recently been selected for Australia's under-20 rugby union preliminary squad. How are you, Drew? Thanks for joining me today.
Oh, I'm good, thanks, Dan. How are you?
Very well, thank you, mate. It's great to have you on the show. I just want to start with a bit of background about yourself. So you've grown up in and around Urana, and no doubt you've played lots of sport. But yeah, how exactly did you get into rugby?
Yeah, so grew up in Albury, but Dad actually owned a pharmacy out in Urana, and so we played AFL in Urana and played that for a good 4 or 5 years out there. Loved the community out there in the country, and it was just quite a lovely setting to be around. And yeah, so the AFL was really good, and you know, as I slowly got a bit older and a bit bigger, I started to realise that AFL maybe wasn't for me. And Dad, obviously, he played rugby as a kid, and as I started to get that bit bigger, he introduced me to it, and started then playing for the Steamers in Albury when I was about 16. So that's sort of my little summary of my sporting career early.
All right, pretty interesting. Only starting to play rugby at 16 to now having made this under-20 preliminary squad. It's a pretty big jump in only a few years. How did you find the switch from going from footy to rugby? Was it a pretty natural switch? Did you find it was difficult learning new skills, or did you think it transferred pretty well?
Yeah, look, it's obviously they're quite different sports, quite really different sports. I think some of the fitness-based stuff, you know, AFL such, you got to be so fit to succeed in AFL. I think that sort of that aerobic base helped transfer over. But, you know, I'm playing prop in the front row, and scrums are just so completely different to the contact that you're used to in AFL. I think, you know, I just having to learn a completely new skill set, transferring over to the new game was quite big. But I found it challenging to start with. But, yeah, look, I stuck with it and, you know, really enjoyed the process, and, you know, it's treated me well.
Yeah, we've seen some stars sort of switch codes at the top level. I'm a Sydney Swans fan myself in the AFL, and I think of Kieran Jack and Isaac Heaney, who grew up playing rugby, and I think they were playing league and made the switch to AFL. And you really see the rugby skills come out when they're playing footy. So no doubt there is a bit of a natural switch there. Do you find that your footy upbringing helps with your rugby union at times?
I definitely think so. And like you said, with blokes like Kieran Jack, you know, I think that sort of tenacity, I think, is common to both sports. That sort of, I guess, want for the ball and that not shying away from contact. You know, blokes like Kieran Jack, you know, you watch him play and he's absolutely tenacious on the ball. And I think, you know, playing rugby, whether you play rugby or you play AFL first, I think they both transfer over really well.
Very good. I must say I didn't expect to be talking about Kieran Jack today, but I'm very happy about it because it's a good walk down memory lane. I was a big fan of his game, always loved watching him play. Growing up, playing your rugby in Urana, and hopefully some of your mates are tuned in to Flow on 88.7 there in Urana, but what's the feel for rugby like in that area? Obviously, New South Wales is a rugby state more than any other code, but it's very close to the Vic border where, of course, Aussie rules is king. So, yeah, what's it all like there in Urana? Are both of the sports pretty well thriving in popularity?
So, no, to be short with you. AFL, like you mentioned, it's Aussie rules is really big in those sort of areas. You know, being so close to that Victorian side of the border, it's much more the popular sport. You know, growing up around Urana in that sort of area, I either had two choices to go play rugby, and that was either go play in Albury or play for one of the teams in Wagga. And, you know, Dad, when he was younger, he played for Albury, so I just thought that would be the right move to you know, drive down to Albury and go play for them when I could, because that was the nearest town that had a team.
Right, well, you've done very well from growing up playing footy in a sort of footy-based area to making this squad. So let's talk about your selection to the Australian Under-20 squad. Firstly, congratulations. It's a huge achievement. Yeah, just tell us what exactly is the preliminary squad?
Yeah, look, so this squad it's a squad of 45. And they picked that from the recent Under-19 Super Rugby Championships, which we just had. So they've picked a squad of 45 of the best players from that tournament. and we've got a camp. We got our first under-20s Australian camp early February. And then from after that camp, the squad will be culled down 10 people. And then that squad is the what's called the Junior Wallabies. So that squad will then, we play a international champs, in Brisbane against countries like Argentina, South Africa, and New Zealand. And then later in the year, we're actually fortunate enough to be able to going over to South Africa to play in the under-20s World Champs, which will be a phenomenal experience.
No doubt about that. That will be sensational. Great to be playing against some of the other rugby powerhouses in the world like Argentina and South Africa, especially travelling to South Africa for it. That will be sensational. So how hard is the training schedule over summer? Obviously, you want to continue making the next cut and the next cut and making the final team. So, yeah, how hard are you training, even going into the Christmas period where some people, like myself, can be prone to getting out of those habits and maybe stacking on a few extra kilos instead?
Yeah, look, it's definitely going to be something hard to resist. You know, the good old Christmas lunch and dinner is arguably the meal of the year. But no, look, at the moment, it's training. I'm training about 3 or 4 days a week. Obviously, we're now moved away from that competition phase and we're into that sort of off-season, pre-season sort of phase. So lots of focus, I guess, on just building up that aerobic base and becoming fitter, but also working on skills and things like that. So I was also fortunate enough to get a contract with the Brumbies up here in their academy. So training with them 4 days a week, really looking to further my development and accelerate that and work on my skills and fitness to hopefully ensure that I can make sure that I make those cuts and make that final squad.
Yeah, sensational. Plenty of good preparations in place, clearly, to help you hopefully make that final squad. And you mentioned the contract with the Brumbies. It's my understanding that a lot of the guys who are in this preliminary squad are playing with you in the Brumbies. Is that right?
Yeah, so that's right. So we had a pretty successful Super Rugby season. We took out the trophy, the title. We went undefeated the whole under-19 Super Rugby season. So I think our performance in that definitely showed. But I think it was 18 or 19 boys of this 45-man squad, all just from the Brumbies. It's an exceptional number and just shows how strong we were throughout the tournament and how many quality players we had.
And how close are you with all those other guys? It must be tough sort of competing for spots with blokes who have no doubt become good mates. Obviously, you want to see your mates succeed, but above all else, you want to make sure you're there at that final cut. So, yeah, what's that sort of competition for spots like with teammates?
Yeah, look, it's pretty fierce. There's lots of, they're all quality guys. You know, our Brumbies side, it was so hard to pick a side. Like all the fellas on the bench could have definitely been, you know, and well deserved a starting spot. So I think the competition it's strong, but it's healthy within the Brumbies. You know, I get along with so many of them, and we just sort of, you know, feed off each other's competition and energy. And I think that'll be really good to ensuring that, you know, hopefully both of us can make that cut and, you know, continue into this Australian selection still as, you know, those Brumbies teammates.
And beyond this selection process, what are the long-term goals for the future? Are you hopeful of one day being a Wallaby?
Yeah, most definitely. I know, and it's slowly getting here, but the next Rugby World Cup is in Australia in 2027. I think it would be an absolutely ultimate goal to be even able to be in the squad for that. Like, I think that would be phenomenal. But I think my nearest goals at the moment is to try and really impress in this Junior Wallabies squad and make it. And then hopefully that allows me to be the recipient of a Brumbies contract and be playing with the top pro side up here in Canberra. And then eventually, the top goal is, you know, for all rugby players in Australia, it's just to be a Wallaby, to wear that green and gold one day.
Sensational. Well, Ben, you're clearly a very driven young man. You've got your sights set on some very big goals and you're doing everything right to hopefully achieve all of them. And the next step will hopefully be making the final cut for the under-20 team. So certainly be wishing you all the best. Really appreciate you coming on to chat on Flow FM today and outline your career and where everything's at. And hopefully when you make the final squad, you'll be willing to come back on and we'll catch up again.
That sounds perfect. Thank you so much.